Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's show is an exclusive story from a brand new author by the name of KB Michaels. And as ever, please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid crew. And so, with that aside, let's get into tonight's story. And title: The Black Dragon's Night. Death rides in the night. Let's get straight into that. Rezak sat on his cot and had his manservant pull the armor off from his body and place it onto the table, laid out neatly. The man poured him his wine as he grumbled. "Goddess knows I need a bath. I should have just sent these fools without me. I need not to be here to claim the glory. I don't know why His Highness ordered me to accompany these men. It's beneath me." "Yes, my lord, 'tis beneath someone of your status to be on a glorified hunt." The servant agreed, eager to please his lord. He set off to his other tasks as the men, who were there as personal guards to Rezak, had started to cook his supper. "That man, that peasant, and his hooked-faced girl, stirring up trouble for no good reasons. Just a pack of wolves sniffing around for scraps. Bah! If I could rid them, I would have. But they may prove useful yet. Maybe as a reward, I'll have that oaf sent out to work the mines, in the mountains with the dwarves and the other lussers." Rezak complained as normal. "He tries to act as if he is better somehow. Such a low-born thinking he can be compared to a great noble blood running within my veins." "To the mines with that one, my lord, along with a hook-faced girl. So openly defiant," his servant said as he began to polish the armor. Rezak gave a smug smile and sipped on his wine, as his mouth watered for something good to eat. How he missed the elaborate meals back home and would kill for just one kidney pie. He hated the cold and hated that he was even out in the forest. He stood and moved to the lantern hanging in the tent, staring up into its golden rays. Ah, yes, this was all beneath him. He was a lord of a town after all, and just because some adventurers couldn't handle the task he was here. Rezak thought how he would show the small town of peasants the benevolence of the nobles. Maybe he could even make it part of his own territory, expanding his own control and powers, and raking in the benefits of taxes from them. And as he admired that plan, he was torn from his thoughts as chaos erupted all around him from outside. Howls erupted from what sounded like it was coming from everywhere. Rezak dropped his wine as he reached for his ears, covering his head, trying to drown out the howls as he dropped to his knees. And as he opened his eyes, he could see the men were screaming and scrambling for what he could see through the tent flap. "What in the hell is going on out there? Gerald, go look to see what is happening." However, the little manservant said nothing and didn't even move. "I said go look what's happening, you snivelling little wart." Rezak whipped around to see blood splashed across his armor and with the body laid over it. One hand was out, reaching for his lord. His blood pumped from his throat, and a tall black wolf creature stepped out, revealing its razor-sharp teeth. Its long tongue licked the blood from the fingers as it approached him. Fear took a hold of him, and piss ran down his legs. He turned to run, but the beast was already tackling him to the ground. Its rancid breath smelled of putrid bile and rotted meat. Rezak couldn't help but feel tears well up in his eyes as he started to beg and plead to what god or goddess would hear him to save him. And it was then that, rather than a growl, the words seemed to emerge in guttural, gravelly voice.
"Lord Rezak, I presume."
"Yes, I am Lord Rezak. What do you want from me?"
The fat little man managed to get out between his snot-filled face and sobs.
"Good. I am your escort. My lord has been expecting you."
The creature sneered out.
"Don't worry. You're not going to die tonight."
A mighty black warhorse came out from the shadows. It was dressed in a black metal burden and with horns coming from the chevron, making it look like some kind of nightmare. And there was some kind of silver lining along the edges of the pieces of plates, along with engraved swirls of patterns and ruins upon them. The rider seemed to match the same as the horse's armour. The man had long red hair that came out the back from his open face, ornate helmet. The helmet came to a point over his face, with spikes that could be mistaken for 4 black metal horns, pointing towards the back of it. His face was hidden behind shadows and a red tattered scarf beneath the armour. The rest of his black full plate armour resembled such a pattern. The black pauldrons had 2 spikes on each one, connected to the black breastplate and gorget. The placard was a sturdy black leather, looking as if it was tight to his body, and with 3 silver ridges along either side of his stomach. The fold was connected to a thick belt with black-red chaps that seemed torn at the ends. They covered the black spike pauline and greaves. Even the gauntlets were taloned at the fingertips, and with spikes coming out the backs of the counter. Like Sleipnir's Bardin set, it also had intricate silver lines running along the tips and edges, and with intricate etchings on them. He moved with ease as he slipped off the side of the horse, pulling free the massive sword on its side.
Sleipnir, protect them.
As the massive horse put itself between the beasts and 2 closest to the fire, Celine felt as if she was staring at some kind of demon, shocked that help had even arrived. And despite holding a massive sword, he pulled the black blade back as the creatures came rushing at him, and his eyes seemed to glow with a green hue from the shadows of his helmet. As he swung, he let out a grunt and smashed the blade into several of the creatures, cutting through bone and tissue. Celine was about to shout out as he was open, when she heard the faintest click noise and a thinner straight blade came swinging out, catching one of the beasts, looking to take advantage of the massive swing, and was thus struck into the ground. The man shouted behind him, "Shield!" And Celine saw the kite shield resting on the side of the mighty warhorse. It was like the rest of his armour, black with a silver lining running along it, leading to a large red gem. She grabbed a hold of it and noticed that it seemed lighter than a normal shield, but shouted, "Here!" as she tossed it his way, not sure how he would even be able to catch it. It landed with a thud, gem side down, and then she was surprised at how he moved with ease. The knight first avoided being caught by one of the last 2 beasts' claws, by rolling back and effortlessly grabbed up the shield in the same process. As he came up, the second remaining beast was already coming down, with hands extended and mouth wide open, saliva and drool dripping from its maw. The knight put his shoulder behind the shield, coming up in an upward motion and slamming it directly into the snout with a bone-crunching sound. And not wasting the momentum, the Black Knight swung out, forcing the beast to the side. He charged forward as the other was scrambling towards him. The long double-edged blade moved faster, catching between the shoulder and neck of the beast, and biting deep, spitting black ichor everywhere. The other was shaking his head as the knight spun, bearing the black blade backwards and splitting its raised hand and face in 2. Oaken didn't hesitate either, as he charged the one that had run towards him still. The beast swung its mighty claw, but was surprised by the agile movements of the mammoth of a man. The claw met with only air and felt the massive boot come up, striking its snout. The power alone sent the beast tumbling back as it let out a whimper, rolling through the dirt. The beast started to get up, but was met with the head of the glowing axe, slicing deep through its skull. Its black ichor splashed everywhere, and he managed to kick the lifeless corpse from his axe. Oaken then turned his attention to the one that had an axe in its head, half expecting for it to be standing, but as he did, he could hear pops and cracks as his body became that of a naked man.
Merciful goddess, what the high hells is that? A man turning into a beast?
He saw the Black Knight standing and scanning the area, making his way slowly towards the other fire encampments, shielded already, the black blade gleaming in the light.
It's not done yet. Be on guard. Protect those 2.
The voice stirred something in Oaken as he instinctively and slowly backed up towards Celine. He couldn't help but comply as he shouted back,
"Who the hell are you? Where the hell did you come from?"
"Ah, hell spells. Why are you going to be bothering asking something like that right now? I'm obviously helping you at the moment, and that's what matters right now. Unless you want to lose your balls to a pack of mongrels, then far be it for me to stop a thunderhead as yourself,"
the knight said, carefully stepping over one of the dead bodies and scanning the tree line.
"What'd you just say?"
"Gypsy now. Only one geezer I know of uses that bloody language."
"But it can't be. Nah, no way in Gypsy now. He would just show up
of all the godforsaken situations."
Celine looked at Oaken and said, Who do you think it is?
Commander Vaughn, is that you?
Oaken asked, almost dropping the axe.
Oh, it's you. Where the hell have you been, you lousy, no-good, rotten bastard? I can explain, but right now, we can figure all that shit out later, after we survive the night. Hell, spouse, that's if we survive the night.
Vaughn said, still watching the woods, blade ready, as he could see more trouble was on its way. Vaughn could see them clearly, despite the darkness, as the power flowed through his veins, and there were 4 hanging back watching them, waiting for them to drop their guards. The other 3 moved towards him, as Oaken said.
What do you mean, ain't over? I mean, bloody hell. How many more bastards can there be? Right here? 4 at least.
Vaughn said, nodding towards them. Celine rushed over to the supply wagon and pulled the chest she had prepared out. She had made this particular flint arrows just in case. She had heard the rumours and wanted to be prepared for anything, just to be on the safe side. She popped the lid open and placed several within the quiver, still keeping an eye on the back side. Vaughn looked down at the arrows and said,
Well, I've never seen arrows like those before.
Make a loud bang.
Light things on fire. What can I tell?
Oaken said. The 2 broke away, moving around and trying to outflank them. And Ollie finally said,
They're all dead. Every last one of them are dead. How the hell are we going to survive? By getting off your ass and fighting.
But Vaughn could see the sheer terror had taken the young man.
Well, in your case, stay by. Sleep near. He'll protect you.
As if the mighty black warhorse understood, he snotted and trotted closer to them. These 4 were being cautious, waiting for the right moment. The massive blade was still on the ground, but Vaughn knew it would be harder, and with everyone around him, he had to use the double-bladed longsword in the moment. How were you able to kill them with that blade? Is it enchanted like Oaken's axe?
That's a longer explanation for another time. All you need to know is...
But Celine cut him off. This so-called Commander Vaughn, right? Surprised that someone with noble blood can fight as well as you are?
Oh, I see Oaken still talking about me. You know me, but who are you?
Celine, the huntress, and I work for the Hunters Guild. That man hired me to help kill the beast that has been terrorizing the town of Wolfgar. I regret ever coming, though. She growled out as a snap came to her left, and she notched the arrow, waiting.
Commander, she's good at what she does. Worth the price.
Oaken added as he crouched, sensing something was coming. Vaughn had heard of her and knew of her reputation.
Well, I never thought I would get to meet someone so famous. Let's see if you live up to the rumors, shall we?
The word triggered something she had heard. Rumors that were floating around about a particular knight clad in black. The world seemed to have more monsters appearing as more adventurers took the calling, but there had been a rumor of a black knight killing the creatures in his wake. Mere table talk from drunkards, but now she wondered if they were true. Before she could even ask, the beast attacked from the 4 different directions. She flicked the wick and brought the bow up, firing it true. She managed to stick the arrow into the gaped jaws as it exploded and engulfed the beast in flames. She twisted, grabbing hold of another, and let the bowstring go with a thrum that echoed like a chord. The arrow exploded and engulfed the beast in a huge ball of fire, making it drop to the ground and trying to roll and put the flames out. Oaken and Vaughn had already kicked forward towards the beast charging at them. The big man's axe spun around, driving down into the shoulder and biting deep down and severing it from the joint. The beast was stunned as it was then faced with the massive fist, punching it square in the nose and with equal force. The giant of a man didn't wait as he followed with an upward arc, catching it square in the chest and breaking through rib bones and the sternum into its black heart. Vaughn caught his own with his shield. The claw skidded down the plate, causing sparks, and Vaughn grunted and pushed its claw hand back and followed by bringing up the blade and slicing deep into its side. It let out a painful scream / howl as it stumbled back. It turned to try and run away, but Vaughn brought the shield down, striking its hind quarter and driving a point into it. The beast collapsed and tried to pull itself to the tree line, but Vaughn stood up and stepped down on its back. He raised the sword with both hands and drove the point down, whipping through its neck and giving it a twist. The head popped off and rolled back out into the darkness. It then scanned and saw no more of the beasts were around them. Black and crimson blood covered the ground as he could smell burning fur turn to burnt flesh very quickly. He let out a sigh and turned to face the other three. And as he did, a massive fist struck him in the face. Chapter 5. Orders. Let's get straight into that. The one Lucius carried had passed out right away. He was a coward and he was pretty sure that the fat man pissed himself. He'd rather cut the bastard open, eat his noble guts, and leave the rest for some vulture to eat what was left of the corpse. But he had his orders. Master Halligan had told him he was to bring the fat little lord to be given the gift. It was to serve the greater goal, to start expanding the territory to other parts of the land. And if he could do so, Lucius would slaughter thousands and bring their hearts to his master. He would not get to take part in a feast of the young flesh of the noble little soldiers, but he will be rewarded. He was one of the trusted of his master, and in so was given tasks that others could not follow. When Lucius would bark, the others obeyed. They were always drunk off their own power, forgetting who they served and how their lives had changed. He had told the others that remained to make short work, not to spend too much time gorging on the remaining men. And the big fella had smelled weird though. He had put his heckles on edge, along with the red-haired half-orc. They had been watching the woodline, not lounging about like the others. They were aware something wasn't right about them, as if they knew they had approached. He should have captured him and brought him to the master. They had good instincts and they weren't appreciated as they were towards the back of the encampment. Oh well, their hearts would serve the master one way or another. And as he moved with ease despite carrying the large man, two others followed behind him. They were staring at the lord, licking their long tongues across their muscles. He snapped at the two with a snarl.
Are you daft? He is for the Master Halligan, or would you risk his wrath? Just a hand? Surely he wouldn't.
But the other was cut off as Lucius's claw flung out and slammed into the maw of the speaking wolf. He fell with a whimper, crying out in pain. The other shrunk out of fear as the blazing eyes stared down at them.
Do you wish to challenge me, boy?
The wolf on the ground shook his head and mumbled.
No, Lucius, forgive me. The hunger sometimes gets ahead of me. Remember your places. We serve Master Halligan. What is taking those idiots so long?
Lucius growled out, realizing they should have already been joined by the others in the hunting party.
It shouldn't have taken them long to deal with the remaining soldiers.
He sniffed the air, but unfortunately was upwind of the attack.
Roll. Go find out what has taken them so long. We are headed back to the village.
Yes, it was a 3-day journey back for normal people from where they had been located, but the truth was that powerful bodies they had been gifted and made short work of that in the span of a day at most. They would travel at the speed of the moon. Taking the fat man would slow them down a bit, but luckily they had a plan for that. Rope and a gag had been prepared for the fat little man. He could only hope that the fat little lord would be a brave one and refused, having a little of a spike, but he knew better. In the face of a mighty man like Halligan, the fat little lord would see the wisdom in his master's offer, and knew that fear would also help him in that choice. Roll nodded as he took back off in the dark, seeing perfectly clear as if it was a sunny day. The other, Badger, stood up letting out a snuffle and asked,
Should I go with him? I should, just so you could run off that extra energy of yours.
Lucius said with a sneering across his face, but looked ahead of him.
No, we have to hurry before the moon goes down. We have much ground to cover. Besides, I am sure that Ro can manage to get the others to come as commanded.
Roll wasted no time as he knew Badger was always eager to hunt. Roll knew that it angered the young wolf, but he would have his time soon enough. He was older and level-headed compared to the other two, so when Halligan told him to go along, he knew why. He didn't serve out of fear or snivelling at the backside of Halligan. No, he did it to survive, to be strong, and never be under the heel of someone again. All had worked out except the last part. He had to serve the master. It wasn't a bad life, but he always was looking for a way to escape. To escape with his power, but he knew the bastard could easily call him back to his side with just a thought. And all with the exception of a handful of villagers gave in. Those who hadn't should have been cut down and made into a feast for the Red Moon. But Halligan provided them with protection. Halligan had assured them that one day soon they would deal with them, and those who hadn't turned kept their mouths shut and locked themselves up tight to avoid the night. Oh, he did enjoy scratching on the doors, hearing them whimper as he did. Oh, what fun he had now that his body was repaired and that he could take out his vengeance. No, justice for all the ridicule he had suffered. It didn't take long for him to get back to the encampment. The blood was thick in the air. They hadn't wasted any time to slaughter the soldiers. However, he couldn't hear anything. Not the snapping of bones, not the feasting of flesh. It was odd, as he heard the crackling of the fire by the various fires that had been set up. The others would have already doused the flames. The light could still mess with their eyes. Even now, he was switching to his other senses, trying to pick up on their body heat. It was a nifty trick, but not many of the others could do such a thing. The fire made it harder to tell, but luckily he knew that they burned hotter than a normal human. They weren't though, but he could smell them still. It made no sense, as they were everywhere in this forest, but he knew the older scent from the others. He slowly crept from the shadows, moving in closer, his ears perking up as he scanned the area for noise. Something was here, but they had all been well hidden. He wasn't sure if they were in the woods or if it was coming from the encampment, and so he crept closer, keeping low and cautious about the whole situation now. And there was more blood than normal, as he could smell something else. He had captured the scent of everyone who had been here before, but something had changed. There was someone else that had arrived, and on it with the scent that sent a chill down his spine. It was something that wasn't right. The stranger was something entirely he had never smelt before, and his instincts told him to run. He couldn't disobey though, as he had to find out what had happened to the hunting pack before he took off. And as he approached closer, the fires that were burning were much larger than the original fires that were burning. There were also several other new fires, also throughout the forest. And fear gripped him as he recognized what was burning. It was the corpses of the hunting pack mixed with the soldiers' bodies. Somehow they had been restored back to their human form, but more importantly, they had been cut down. The black blood forced the flame to burn hotter. Normally, moving out of the shadows wasn't a problem, but something had managed to eliminate not just one of them, but the entire pack. And as he was about to turn back and run, a tree exploded near him. He barely avoided a massive blade taking out a giant chunk of the tree that exploded near him. And out from the black was that strange scent that made every inch of his fur stand up on end. The flames of the light caused the black armor to shimmer within the dark, and all he could think of was the absurdity of how massive the curved blade coming at him was. The sheer fact the stranger was already whipping it back around was madness. He tried to leap back before the sting of the axe catching him in the shoulder and dropping him to the ground. The strike was fast and hard, as he let out a mournful howl of pain while whimpering. He had been so careful. He couldn't die here, not now. Despite the pain, he pushed upwards, using his massive strength to his advantage, trying to push whoever was on top of him off. Instead, a massive foot collided with his back and slamming him to the ground. It had to be the large one at the end with the axe. He dropped the blade to the side of his snout, and he could see the runes etched on the head were glowing. Roll's large eyes opened wide with fear as he tried to scramble away from the underfoot.
"Stop! I don't want to die,"
he cried out.
"I've done everything to survive now. That's all. I don't want to kill. I just want to live."
Oi, these things talk.
I can tell you where they are. How to find the beast. I beg you.
Roll shouted as his body shrunk and his form turned more human. Bone cracked as his face shrank and his body twisted back to a naked man.
Well, I'll be damned. Isn't it the strangest thing? He's so small and naked. Have pity on me. I'm just a frail man. A weak man.
Roll knew that they would look upon his frail form and be like others who looked down on him. They would let down their guard and then he would run. His wound was not healing though, as blood was still coming up. The black mess that had replaced his blood. And Roll could see the grey stormy eyes looking down at him with pity, while the half-orc girl came forward also.
Just who the hell are you? I am a villager from Wolfgar. We all are. Cursed is the best way to put it.
Roll said, grovelling.
We had no choice. We either followed Master Halligan or met our death. What choice did we have? But I can see now, brave warriors, that with you here, we can save the village.
The giant axe warrior looked at the armoured warrior and said,
We can help these. You lying son of a codpiece. Every word you're saying is full of crap. I don't know what you're talking about. I never wanted to hurt a soul. I promise you that. I had no choice in the matter. We had to follow him or meet a horrible end.
Roll shouted.
You wouldn't understand what it means to. The girls are alive. Your little buddies are dead.
Rage took over Roll as he knew what that meant. He let out a roar and jumped at the armoured figure, while he began to transform back to his beast. The older axe warrior and girl were caught by surprise as the claw hand extended as his body twisted itself. The armoured figure's eyes seemed to glow a green beneath the shadows of the helm, and the ridiculous massive curved sword came down fast and hard. The weight of the sheer blade forced its way through the body, as the sharp blade had no problem cutting through tissue, muscles, and bone, while driving the body into the ground. Roll could only think as he felt his soul being dragged into the dark. How the hell had this happened? Who the hell was this man that came like a dark spirit of vengeance? Even as the darkness overtook him, he could swear he saw a female, with horns coming from the sides of her head and had long black hair, and was standing by the man. Her deep purple eyes stared at him, and with a wicked grin growing over her face. Your master's time has come. Chapter 6. Forward, not back. Let's get straight into that. Var let out his breath, and he loosened his grip, his eyes scanning the forest around them. The beast thing now lay split down the centre, as its black blood pooled out and the body returned back to its human form. The others stared, still stunned by what they were watching, while Varn felt at ease finally. He was walking away back to the road of the dead encampment and ripped a part of the velvet-style tent to wipe the massive blade clean. He rested it against the wagon before grabbing up a torch.
How the hell did you know that thing was coming?
Celine broke out from her fear.
And how are you so damn calm?
Ollie came out from the other side, leading the mighty black warhorse towards Varn and looking at the fire, and said nothing. Varn ignored the huntress as he moved to the corpse on the ground, but was stopped by the large warrior again, who reached out to grab him. Oaken stopped as he saw those eyes truly were different, and something screamed danger. Oaken stepped to the side, not sure what was stopping him this time.
I'm feeling you. Owe some answers, Commander.
Oaken mustered up finally as he watched Varn light the corpse on fire.
Fair enough, Oaken. These things aren't human anymore. I made a deal with the Archdemon. About a month ago, I ran into a girl, running from these things, and we managed to get help for her, but we already killed a set of them. I made my way down here to put an end to the Archdemon General. I just happened to be close by when I heard the attack. I'm sorry that I couldn't get here sooner. Then maybe they all wouldn't be dead.
Archdemon? You talking about the rumour of the 13 Black Generals? It's just a rumour. It's not real. There's no such beings. Celine said, shaking her head.
What are you babbling about, Celine?
Oaken asked, raising an eyebrow. He hadn't heard anything about this before, and he spent a lot of time at the tavern and bars when not on duty.
I never heard anything about this before. You wouldn't. Most adventurers and guild members dismiss these things as overzealous people who have lost their nerves. Isn't that right, Miss Huntress?
You still haven't told us how you knew it was coming. You wield that strange sword and killed them with ease. You fight like a
demon? Yeah, I get that a lot. Say it's a blessing and a curse. I can feel those things and I can see in the dark, thanks to my circumstances. It's my job to put these bastards in the ground. Each of those generals and the man who brought them forth.
Vaughn said, making his way back to the roadside. He patted the horse and pulled the helmet from his head, letting his long red mane free.
Hey kid, can you help me get my armor off? Just unclasp the sides. I can do the rest.
Aren't you afraid that they might come back? Ollie said as the other two followed him back to the fire.
Is it wise to take it so ham and cheesy? Ollie here's got a point. Knows my hammer and tack and finish what they started. Ain't you afraid?
Oaken asked, shaking his head and scanning around.
No, it's moving away. More than likely going back to their den. Not sure how far, but I'm sure they'll figure out eventually that a little pack isn't coming back. Anyways, what are you all going to do?
Vaughn asked, as Ollie finally helped him to remove the breastplate. There are more of those things. Well, the Lord is either dead or run off into the night. I don't think I'm going to get my pay. I plan to get me one of those horses and get in the high hell out of here. No offense, but I think it's best we all hit the trail and bring an army back with us, Celine said, scanning through the forest line herself. Or just forget the whole damn accursed place altogether. I agree with her, Sarge. We need to get the hell out of here. Report about how the Lord was lost, Ollie added as he watched Vaughn sit down and start to recook the bird that had been cooking earlier.
You're a sergeant now? Well, I see you've made your way up the ranks since we last saw each other. Congrats. I couldn't think of a better man to be promoted.
And Oaken shook his head and made his way to the tent, looking inside. The snivelling servant that served Lord Rezak was in a bloody mess on his armour, but there was no body within. No signs of struggle or panic to escape it. However, he could smell the piss still on the ground as he spit to the side, looking back at the other three. He ain't dead, but he pissed himself, innit? Besides, they end up hanging us for abandoning the wee fat man out here. He effing ran, which I doubt, or they probably took him with them. But why? Who would want that fat, cowardly man? Celine said, shaking her head while placing her fingers to her head. Let me guess, Sarge. You want me to track him down?
No need for that. Probably took him to Wolfgar. I mean, that's who these people are. Not all of them are infected, but a good portion of the town accepted this so-called gift. He's probably going to be offered the same deal. And since he is a coward, like you say, he would jump at the chance.
Vaughn said, while rotating the chicken. What? Why would you think that?
You were all sent out here to die, more than likely. No, he was the target all along. He comes back as a hero, able to spread the Archdemon's influence. This was the man's plan all along.
Vaughn said, as if it were a fact. Commander, we were sent here by a king's order. He wouldn't have anything to do with this. He wants the peace returned to this trade route. You're accusing the fucking crown of some high-level corruption there. Could cop you killed if you don't mind your tongue, Oaken said as he tightened the grip on the axe handle. Ollie stood stunned as a smile crept over Vaughn's face and he didn't look back at the massive warrior. Shit, you know something about this, don't you? All this crap and you're involved. What you're saying is the king is responsible for all of this shitty situation? Celine said wide-eyed.
Yup. That day, my life ended and hell broke loose on this land. I'm glad you survived, Oaken, but you don't understand. All the recent rise in the monster attacks, the creatures clawing away from the dark, and how the people are suffering more is a result of that day. Hell spells, man. The war wasn't even supposed to happen. They didn't attack us. I found out that we started the war. The kingdom of Alvania started it with the act of the new king.
Varn growled as he shoved the stick into the fire.
And I'm going to kill every last one of those bastards. And then I'm going to shove that massive blade down his throat and rip his heart out.
Oaken lost his temper as he gripped a hold of the shirt of Varn and yanked him up, screaming.
Are you mad, man? Blimey! What the hell are you going on about? Eh, Squire? The men, they're dead, right? Died and fought for nothing. Struth. They were attacking the border towns. They were... Shit, this is just like that day, innit?
His grip loosened and Varn let out a sigh, understanding his rage. Oaken fell flat on his ass and then was struggling to understand what was being said to him. Varn looked down and then back at the fire. The rage flooded him as his eyes flashed green. And Celine couldn't understand what they were being told, and the younger soldier was shaking his head.
Sarge, this is insanity. We should be shackling him up and dragging him back for treacherous words,
Ollie said, scrambling for his sword on his hip. Celine's hand shot out and grabbed a hold of the young man's hand. She shook her head and said, "What he's saying makes sense. At least about us being the ones who started the war. Alvania didn't win the war, but it came to an abrupt end. No one knows why, but the bordering kingdoms have intensified their border guards, but they aren't stopping the trade routes. We're still recovering and life isn't getting easier for the people, unless you're an adventurer or a guild member. There's a lot more jobs for us lately." Ollie's hand dropped away as he looked over at the big man. He'd never seen the older soldier look so defeated and back at the red-headed warrior. Fear washed over him as the man stared into the fire, making sure the chicken was cooking, as if nothing had happened. The silence weighted heavy on all of them. Varn knew what he was going to do, but didn't ask for any of their help. Oaken slapped his hands and chased the silence away. His grey eyes flashed with resolve as he firmly said,
"Yeah, go then, Celine, and take Ollie with you. I'm with you, Commander. As you can spot, I can still be useful."
Celine rubbed her forehead and said, "Are you daft, man? Hell, you saw what happened here. They tore everyone apart and we got lucky. If there are more of these things, how the hell are you going to handle all of them? Even more so, they got some kind of master demon thing leading them." She refocused her attention at Varn, asking, "Do you have a plan at least?"
Sort of, but more like an outline. Anyways, it isn't your problem, and having Oaken with me would be a boon. Besides, my other friend should be here soon enough, with a little luck,"
Varn admitted, rubbing his chin.
"Commander was always good at sort of improving the fucking situation," Oaken said as he let out a sigh. "Too bad I can't cop Amelia or Cruz's word. They would come in an heartbeat." "Those two survived also. I can't imagine that they stayed with the military like you,"
Varn said, surprised.
"Ah, Cruz. Well, he joined the princess and became one of them holy knights. Amelia, well, she went to become a better spellcaster. Last I heard, she's an apprentice/secretary to your brother." "Oh, hellfire, your brother. I'd be shocked you're alive and he works on the council to the chaffing king. How you going to convince him I'm all about this?" "He knows. In fact, he's part of the reason I am still around,"
Varn said with a sigh. Celine clapped her hands to draw their attention back to her. "Hey, you two can circle jerk yourselves later. What you're planning is a suicide mission. Damn it, I can't leave you two idiots to your own devices. It'll probably make the situation a lot more worse. I guess I'm going to have to go with you." Ollie shook his head and said,
"This is madness. What the hell are we all talking about? We survived and we should go get reinforcements to help us. If we hurry and we leave now, we could be back in a few weeks and then wipe out the threat." "Trust me, kid. No one else is going to come. They move on the king's say, not on the word of a lowly soldier,"
Varn said, remembering what happened back during the war, and shook his head to bring himself back.
"You don't have to come, kid. You can probably get out of here before they even come for you. And if we fail, you're probably going to be silenced one way or another. I can tell you're a good soldier. Probably become a great leader one day. But today, we eat, and when dawn comes, we're going to ride hard to Wolfgar. But you don't have to come. Go back. Tell them that the beasts have been dealt with.
Celine smirked and nodded. I get it. Even if we fail, some level of good can come from this. This will stop anyone else being sent here and getting killed, at least for now. But you can build a resistance and gather men in secret to finish the job. And Ollie shook his head and said, I'm nothing but a coward. I couldn't even move. I stood by the horse the whole time.
Nah, don't sell yourself short, kid. You warned us and came hammer and tack as soon as possible, innit? That took courage, Ollie. You can do this. Follow your training, right? And you'll succeed if we fail. I promise you, if we succeed, I'll send word, and you won't be kept in the bleeding dark.
Oaken said, clasping his shoulder. Ollie wanted to cry and stifle the sobs as tears leaked from the corners of his eyes. He wiped the tears away from his face and nodded. Good. Well, that's settled. I am surprised you didn't fight us on joining you, Celine said, sitting down with Ollie and looking at the fire. Fear still gripped her as she screamed in her mind at what she was doing. Oh, I may be reckless and maybe an arse, but I'm not a damn fool, he sighed. Gotta take the help where I can. Anyways, you seem to be a thinker. I like thinkers. They come up with good plans. You're not bothered that I'm half-orc?
Oaken Hafton said. I told you, right? Commander couldn't care less about that crap. Any roads, right? Seems like he hasn't changed that part of himself. I want a full story after we're done with this fire, Commander. You owe me that much. And I'm talking about whatever changed you into, well, this.
Oaken motioned to Varn and to the massive black warhorse.
I guess you are good at what you do, right? Well, Celine, that's all that matters to me, and that you don't get in my way from my target. Anyways, I think the chicken is done. Let's eat. I am starving.
Wow. Certainly another one. Wow. Chest pounding, riveting, and refreshing story there for an incredible mind of our brand new author and friend, KB Michaels. Once again, absolutely incredible stuff, KB. I feel very, very honoured that you've chose my channel to present this work to everybody. Of course, a big thank you for your time and dedication, and I hope you enjoy this rendition. Well, guys and girls as ever, you know the drill. Please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. Well, it really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid Crew. Now if you think you got the minerals, could pen the next big hit, then please do get in touch with me at the contact email, which is, as on screen, contactthedeadone@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend and an even better start to the brand new week, and you're fighting fit and trying to stay focused. But above all, guys, remember, be safe, not sorry. It's me.
That man, that peasant, and his hooked-faced girl stirring up trouble for no good reasons. Just a pack of wolves sniffing around for scry. The big man acts.
Hotel California, such a lovely place.
What are you babbling about, Celine? Oaken asked, raising an eyebrow. He hadn't heard anything about this before, and he spent a lot of time at the tavern and bars. Celine said, scanning through the forest line herself. Oh, just forget the whole damn thing. Oh,
Ha ha